Before I share the 9 lessons every programmer needs in 2025, let me take you back to the first time I opened a code editor. I thought I'd be building cool apps in a week, but what followed were months of frustration, confusion, and late-night debugging. So these are the lessons I wish someone had told me, so you can skip the chaos and fast-track your growth. Lesson 1. Don't worship big tech. I remember sitting in my college dorm dreaming of working at Google. Fast forward a year, I got rejected twice. It crushed me, but I kept going. What I learned was that big tech isn't the only path to success. It's just one chapter in a much bigger book. The thing about big tech is that it's glamorous. High salaries, prestigious names, endless perks. It feels like the ultimate prize. But here's the truth. At big companies, you're likely just one small piece of a massive system. You might spend weeks refining a single button or debugging someone else's decade-old code. If your goal is to grow quickly, build diverse skills, or see the direct impact of your work, this can feel limiting. That's where startups or smaller companies come in. They push you to wear multiple hats and learn on the job. Every decision you make there directly impacts the outcome, and that's where real growth happens. To figure out where you belong, start by reflecting on why you're in programming. Are you chasing creativity, world-life balance, financial stability? If it's creativity and impact, smaller companies or freelancing might be your best bet. If stability is your thing, non-tech sectors like healthcare or banking are full of opportunities for programmers. And if you do go the startup route, remember, it's easy to get overwhelmed. Learn to set boundaries and say no when things get too much. Your worth isn't tied to how many late nights you pull. Lesson 2. Fundamentals are forever. One time, I spent 2 weeks obsessing over a new framework. I felt like a genius until it became obsolete 3 months later. It was a painful reminder. It taught me that tools change, but fundamentals are eternal. And today, with AI models like DeepSeek launching every year that can write code for you, this lesson hits harder than ever. Now you might be wondering why it matters since AI is going to take over eventually. AI models and tools are great, but they're just the surface. If you don't know the core principles, you'll struggle when those tools inevitably change. AI might automate syntax, but it can't automate your problem-solving logic or your understanding of how systems work. Fundamentals like data structures, algorithms, and clean code principles are the backbone of programming. They're what let you evaluate AI-generated code, debug it, and adapt it to real-world problems. And the best way to solidify your fundamentals is to focus on them intentionally. Spend a little time every day reviewing the basics, build small projects, try writing a simple web app from scratch, or practice thinking through problems logically and not just copy-pasting solutions. Don't shy away from algorithm challenges. They're not just for interviews, they train your brain to think critically. Lesson 3. Debugging is 90% of programming. My first internship introduced me to the phrase segmentation fault. At first, I thought it was mocking me. After hours of frustration, Googling, and trial and error, I fixed it and felt unstoppable. That's when I learned debugging isn't failure, it's the real game of programming. Writing code is exciting, but debugging is where you truly learn. Each bug is a puzzle, a lesson in understanding systems, solving problems, and staying patient under pressure. It's the skill that separates a beginner from a pro. Lesson 4. You're not a Google search away from genius. Googling is an essential skill, but it's only the first step. If you don't understand why a solution works, you're not really solving the problem. You're just postponing it. True growth comes from digging deeper into the concepts behind the answers. So next time you Google a solution, try explaining it to yourself in plain language. If you can't, take the time to research and learn. Platforms like HackerRank or LeetCode are great for practicing concepts in a structured way. And don't be afraid to get things wrong. That's where the learning happens. Lesson 5. Teamwork makes dream work. Programming is rarely a solo sport. You'll spend as much time explaining your code and reviewing others as you will writing your own. The ability to collaborate effectively isn't just a nice to have, it's essential. Start by mastering tools like Git for version control. Practice writing clean, readable code and always comment where needed. Code reviews are your friend. They're not just about pointing out flaws, but but learning how to communicate ideas and take constructive feedback. Remember, your code is only as strong as your team's understanding of it. Lesson 6, your code will never be perfect. I once rewrote the same function 5 times, chasing perfection. A senior dev finally told me, done is better than perfect. It changed the way I approach programming. Focus on creating something that works and can be improved over time. Lesson 7, side projects are your secret weapon. My first side project was a to-do app. It wasn't flashy, but it taught me more than any tutorial: how to debug, manage scope, and deal with real-world challenges. It even landed me a freelance gig. Side projects are where theory meets reality. They teach you how to build, adapt, and deliver something real. They're also your best portfolio and proof of your skills and creativity. Start small. Build something you find useful, like a portfolio site or a simple automation tool. Share your work online. You never know who might notice and what opportunities it might bring. Lesson 8, imposter syndrome is normal. I used to think everyone else had it figured out. Turns out even senior devs feel like imposters sometimes. The difference, they don't let it stop them. If you feel like an imposter, it's a sign you're growing. You're pushing yourself into new territory, and that's how progress happens. Keep a journal of your win. Every bug fixed, every project completed. Share your doubts with peers or mentors. You'll find they felt the same way. Lesson 9. The learning never stops. Every few months, a new framework pops up. At first, it was overwhelming, but now I've learned to embrace it. The beauty of programming is that it's a lifelong learning journey. We have to understand that tech evolves constantly. Staying curious and adaptable isn't just helpful, it's necessary. So make sure to dedicate time each week to learning something new, whether it's a framework, a language, or a new concept. Teaching what you learn is also a great way to solidify your understanding. So these are the coding lessons that I hope might help you become a better programmer, and if you're here from the start, you should subscribe to me.